startups, it's a good time to be in India. There is a lot of encouragement being given to startups. And I also recognize that there is a lot of talent that's available in India today. The other big change I find going ahead into the future is that with all the immigration issues that are coming up in the US, a lot of people who wanted to early on work in the US are now coming back to India. So I think it's a good time for startups. There's also a lot of money now available coming in from all over the world for startups. My view is education institutions have to get more entrepreneurial. We still are not doing as much. I think we need more flexibility in the whole curriculum to encourage more and more entrepreneurship. It's coming, but with the number of institutions that we have and entrepreneurship being in the blood of a lot of Indians, I think more can be done. I'd like to, when I compare India with the US, when I compare it with Israel, I still find that we are behind in sort of startups and taking risks. We must do more about it. In the ecosystem, well, people who've been successful have been rewarded. So I feel in our ecosystem, first one change is that we should celebrate failures. In our country, I find that if somebody fails once, they have not been encouraged by society. Therefore, I think we have to encourage that. And we can do more, and I would encourage people to do even more than what they're doing. I think IvyCapital has in that sense a unique model. First of all, the fact that more than 50% of the deals that IvyCapital gets are proprietary from their alumni, and thus what they get is actually in some ways the first look at deals. So that is a big plus they have. And then the fact that they can get mentors in this who are very highly experienced people, successful people in different fields, again adds to the uniqueness that IvyCapital has. Added to that, if you see that high governance standards are maintained, so it's a good, I think in that sense it's a good model. I would say that I think the VC funds starting off in India need to approach more and more HNIs and show some success stories and see how we can attract them. This is a new look at what Indians are doing. By and large, when I see HNIs, they would invest either in, early on it used to be either into land or to real estate and some in the stock market, or in their own businesses. But I think now is the time when we should encourage more and more VCs, and therefore for that, a lot more explanation to HNIs, and I would say education of what a VC does and how in a VC fund, you may have many failures, but if there are a few large successes, that's what makes the difference, and you can make disproportionate returns. So I think it's education that's required. My view is that you should not look at an exit the day you start, because otherwise you always have a short-term view. Exit has to be evaluated at the right time. I think when an entrepreneur gets into a business, unless and until the entrepreneur feels that this business is for good, they will not give the best out of it. So in my view, exit can only happen at a later stage if you feel that there's enough of value that has been created. But to be too much of a hurry to do an exit is not the right time. And I don't think that you should plan for an exit the day you start the business. The business has to get mature. The way one must grow it to make considerable value, and I think that's what I would advise. So when he quit, it was a good job that he quit in, but the fact that he had the courage to start something new, and it was at that time very new, and it was full of risk. But for a person to leave a good steady job which he was growing in, and to get into this itself, that's what you call entrepreneurship, and that's where you have the courage of a conviction to go ahead. I would encourage such people, because this is how entrepreneurship is really. An entrepreneurship means you have to take risk. Entrepreneur means that you have to be actually optimistic that what you're going to do will succeed, and that he's been able to do that. The VC scene is evolving in India, but I think I would like that there should be more investment from Indian companies or Indian investors for India. A lot of the funds that are coming in the very successful startups are from outside of India, particularly in the US. I think these companies need to belong to Indians, and therefore I would just hope that more and more Indians also back this. That's the big change I'm looking for. You must have the courage to do what you really believe in, and if it fails, one must not get disappointed. When I go to Israel, I find that people have failed 6 times, 7 times in different startups, and yet they continue to pursue their passion and ultimately do succeed. So not to get very upset with a failure and to get disappointed with failure, I think is a very important thing. Second thing I would like to say is that I find that startups very early on dilute a lot of their equity. In a few stages of funding, at the end you find that the stake of the promoter is very, very minimal, and hence they do not have the same dedication and the same passion that they had at the beginning. So I would say that if you have to dilute, which you need to attract funds, don't dilute it in a hurry. Take your time and do it at the right time.